Okay, welcome into RLC Tech Perspectives. This is our July State of the Market. I'm Tyler Canning, joining from Chicago, and with me, as always, is Corey Wisdom, who looks like he should be joining us from Florida, but he is, in fact, still in Arizona. Corey, how you
Hey,
doing?
good. 100 degrees today, so I figured it's summertime. Let's break out the good stuff.
Hey, I'm right there with you. Chicago is, I think the real feels 103 right now. I was dying walking into the office. There was a group of there was this organization that was taking a group photo, and asked me to take the photo for him. And I was like, I don't think you guys understand what this is doing to me. I was like, this extra 5 minutes and walked in. I'm like, I'm sweating.
I
We
can't
jumped
do
from
it.
like
Yeah,
50 degrees to like 100 degrees. I'm like, I can't, my body just can't handle this.
I saw Dave, who's in Central Illinois. He sent a photo the other day of the real heat was like 130 degrees when it was 98 degrees there due to the humidity, like the real feel.
Jesus.
So
Oh
I
my
I just
God.
I can't do the humidity. I'll do 109, 110 degrees, but it's dry.
Tough. It's tough. But let's just jump right into it today. I know you've got a few topics you're excited to discuss. What's the first topic you got for our July State of the Market here?
So
Yeah.
the first is just a trend that we are seeing and continue to see. We've talked about this before, but this is customers looking to shift away from offshore providers and either insource or more often than not, find strategic partners for key um, focus areas or towers within their organization. And so we're helping customers with assessments in that area, kind of mapping migration plans, but also ultimately helping them shift some of those things to strategic partners like RL Canning, or identifying those things that are really core and critical to their business and bringing those in house and
Mhm.
helping them with sourcing and staff augmentation. So that's a trend we just continue to see. As you know, we've been working towards that nearshore model for any kind of cost savings and more of those commodity offerings like Service Desk. But we continue to see this in the marketplace and that shift away from offshore providers in this space.
Yeah. Why do you think there is such a shift back to the either onshore or nearshore resources? I feel like when an organization decides to go offshore, I think everyone kind of knows that you're going to have a decline in terms of quality for many factors, but the cost savings kind of validate that, right?
Yeah. I
Why?
think
What are some of the reasons that people are coming back to inshore or nearshore?
I like to think that the reason is primarily they want to they're worried now about user experience and trying to improve that experience. I think a lot of I mean, we obviously moved to the nearshore model a while ago because they're on U.S. time zone. We saw less turnover. We saw a better skill set and talent. We saw bilingual, so English speaking and Spanish speaking, which is a benefit to many of our customers. And so that's why
Mhm.
we moved. I think that's a driver for many organizations, but it's also just people kind of getting fed up with just that minimum um, uh, level of service, right? That true. A lot of what we hear is it's just level one, or we were sold level 1.5 or level two, or insert any type of terminology like that, and they just feel like they're getting the basic catch of a ticket and then escalating it back to their team. And so I'm hoping that most organizations want to now get back to, hey, we're investing money, we're investing time. This is something that is critical to our employee satisfaction and our end customers. And so we need to make sure it's valuable. And I think also with a lot of the AI things that we're able to introduce into the platform, that's able to offer some cost savings and kind of offset some of those cost implications of moving it over offshore.
Yeah, I think the AI conversation's a great reason for that. Have you been following at all what's going on with Klarna? This is kind of like a year-long battle with them. I don't know if you remember this, but in one of our previous episodes, we referenced a CIO.com article that was talking about how organizations are having difficulty um, actually measuring ROI from AI
Yep.
tools that they've
Yep.
implemented, right? And Klarna actually was referenced as a success story in that article. So um, within that article itself, what they did was they basically replaced 700 employees that they had through an offshore contract on their service desk with AI agents. And they did this in partnership with OpenAI. And basically, every metric they were measuring was like, this is awesome. They're like, it's handling, I think it was like 85% of the tickets that came through. Um, there was like a huge reduction in repeat um, contacts made to the service desk. Basically, everyone was celebrating it. Then everything changed 3 months, like months later. They
Yep.
basically were like, "What's these metrics we're measuring are simply not telling the right story." What ended up happening is they had a ton of people that were on social media or calling however they could, and were like, "I just can't. I need a real human. This is not solving my problems." So public discourse started trashing them on this, right?
Hmm.
Now they're actually in a decent spot. I think what they ended up doing was traditionally they went from outsourced offshore service desk contract, replaced that entirely with AI. Since then, what they've done is they've actually switched to it's kind of interesting, like an Uber style model where they have freelancers come in that are paid by shift to handle the service desk. And this
Interesting.
AI model actually handles 2/3 of the tickets today. It's just that 1/3 that needs a human interaction, things that are more complicated rather than like, I don't know if I'd say a password reset, but with Klarna, there could be like fraud claims. That's kind of a tough thing to handle.
Yeah.
They get routed to a human. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, everyone's kind of trashing them for going too far, too fast with the AI model. And I'm like, everything I'm seeing today seems like this thing's working great. I'm like, their Q1 earnings are like, I think they had the most like $1 billion in revenue.
Yeah.
Part of that might be because too many Americans are going into debt to go on vacation, but the reality is they're doing good. So, um, yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry to go on the long rant there. You brought up how AI is allowing companies to do this, and I was like, well, I was just looking up this Klarna example. They seem to be doing things pretty well over there.
Yeah, I think to me this was really tied into their S1 and SEC filings going public, if I recall correctly. So they were trying to make a
Mhm.
big splash about impact. I think it's a good example of what a lot of organizations are running into, where the promise and the hope of AI is really, when the rubber hits the road, it's somewhere in the middle. And I think we're just
Yeah,
seeing that pendulum kind of swing back for Klarna, and you're going to see that pendulum swing back for other organizations across the board. But I do think, to your point, there's a lot of value out of this, right? Like anybody who's out there on the cutting edge, being at the forefront of these things, they're going to get some arrows in the back, and they're going to get some, scar tissue as a result of being that leader. But there's still a lot of value out there now that it sounds like they've
yeah,
pulled it back. They've kept the human in the loop so that there's still things that a human needs to handle that's of a sensitive nature. And so they're kind of finding that balance of where AI can most effectively impact the business, and then where they need to have that human element. So I think ultimately it's kind of it's a good story and a good lesson for organizations out there to take from.
yeah, yeah. And ultimately, my final point there was just with organizations bringing back um, their resources to inshore. People are already starting to have success when it comes to implementing AI in a
Yeah,
service desk type model. So,
yeah, absolutely.
again, long rant there, but let's move on. What do you have for topic number two?
Well, the next one was bot sitting. So this is one that is a new term out there, I guess, that is capturing the time it takes for employees who are using AI to kind of clean it up, or the time they're sitting there waiting on it, or actually doing corrective actions after something's provided from the AI platform. How much they have to clean it up or adjust it. And from a recent study, they said it was about 6.4 hours per week that was being spent on bot sitting. I don't know who's naming these things, because I think it's a horrible name. A bot sitting does not sound like wasted productivity because of cleanup from AI. But
Yeah,
it's an interesting take, because I feel like that's a lot of what's out there, and it's impacting some of the productivity of just deploying some LLM or AI platform for your team. You have to realize there's training, which we've talked about before, but there's also the impact of just this cleanup and kind of getting it right, and that learning time that's being spent on the platform.
yeah. I kind of feel like at this point, there's just a group of like 15-year-olds that are coming out with these names. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I have not heard of bot sitting, but I know the scenario you're talking about. I mean, I guess what was it, 6.4 per week?
Yep.
Sounds like a lot, but honestly, if I'm thinking to myself, if that includes just like re-prompting and whittling down what you want into a specific prompt so where it finally gets to what you're looking for, I think that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I think
What
it
do
all
you? It's
matters on
less
what
than an
the
hour a day.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. I think it all depends on the impact that's being made on AI. Of if it's
Yeah,
saving them 20 hours, but they're spending 6.4 hours cleaning it up, okay, there's a net value add there. But I don't
yeah,
know how much, at least I didn't see in some of the articles, was how much is it saving them or impacting them. I hope it's not a net 6.4 hour reduction. That would be a negative impact on productivity. But at least, like you said, I felt like it's real. I know that's the case for some of our uses of it is okay. Hey, it gets us directionally close, but we still have to spend a lot of time to, you know, optimize that image or get it to be something that we're happy with.
yeah. I mean, I guess you put a positive spin on this. At least I imagine that means AI adoption is finally going up in
Hey,
organizations.
hopefully,
Think about the average person trying to use it. Most people probably have absolutely no idea how to use these tools, or had no
yeah,
idea like 3 months ago. At least they're
yeah.
trying to dive into it. You know, so I wonder if the bot sitting average is going to go down as people start to become more familiar with these tools.
I hope so, and they get a little bit more effective. I think when we talk about the private AI topic, I think there's a lot that we're seeing introduced in that space that's going to make it a little bit more efficient and effective on some of
Yeah,
those things, at least for common tasks.
yeah, yeah. Am I crazy in thinking that that's not like a insanely negative statistic? Do you agree with me on that, or are you like, were
I
you
don't know.
shocked by that number?
To me, 6.4, I mean, it seems like a lot. I mean, that's almost a full 8-hour day, you know? I mean, you think about it, by the
Yeah,
time they go and get lunch, that's almost a full day. But again,
yeah,
if it's saving them 20 hours, okay, hey, I'm good with that. I do think to your
yeah,
point, it's a matter of us learning, right? And if this is the price that we pay right now to kind of figure out those use cases and optimize how we can leverage it, um, it's okay. But it needs to get better and it hopefully gets reduced over time.
yeah. Okay. Well, let's move on. What do we got for our third?
The next one is Nextthink, and so I think obviously you've seen in the news, Micron and Samsung and all of these memory manufacturers, the prices just keep going up, right? Not only in terms of their stock price, but just the scarcity of memory out there and it being a bottleneck in terms of any of the AI compute needs, but also now it's impacting personal computing servers, other infrastructure. So I know Tim Cook and Apple announced that they were going to be increasing their pricing as a result of this. They can no longer just absorb the cost. So now that we're seeing that shift, we're seeing customers that are now more interested than ever in Nextthink and performance-based hardware refreshes using that platform, so that they can kind of stretch out the refreshes on most of their equipment and delay some of those upgrades, or at least make sure that the upgrades that they're doing right now with the equipment that they have in stock and available is intentional, and they're focusing on where the most biggest value or impact is going to be from.
Yeah, this is maybe this might I might be a bit biased here, working for RL Canning, and this is just something that we do with a lot of our clients. But um, who, who's not doing performance based refreshes?
Uh,
What are you doing?
you'd be
I think.
surprised. Or we've had some customers that say, "Oh yeah, we're doing that." And we say, "Okay, help. What tool are you using? How are you? Give us a walkthrough of that." They go, "Well, it's an Excel spreadsheet with the end of support date for all of the equipment, and we just kind of go through that and select the ones that we feel like are the most impactful." Okay, that's not what we're talking about performance-based hardware refresh, where it's truly a data-led decision and you're able to sweat things. And it's I always love sharing some of the stories about what we see out there when we do these types of either assessments with DEX platforms or we're implementing hardware-based refreshes, because we've had situations where customers are buying higher costs, 3x the price of a normal laptop or endpoint for their organization for engineers or developers. And we end up using Nextthink to show them performance wise, that is just as bad as a 6-year old standard laptop because it doesn't have enough memory or because of your application stack and security software that's installed on it. It's really bogging it down. The insight and data that we can get from a platform like that is so powerful. And now, we're seeing folks is the cost is going to increase for these types of refreshes. Okay, now let's make
Yeah.
sure that we're really doing it only where we need and delaying where we can. So I think that's a good thing because if more folks can leverage it, it's a huge benefit for the organizations. It gets them into a platform like NextThink, and I think sets them up for better long term success.
Yeah. I mean, I think that this is such, obviously I'm kind of kidding, like who's not doing this, but this is such a big problem in so many organizations. I have tons of friends that are, you know, I mean, not that we talk about how their laptop's performing, but if they happen to pull it out while we're together and they're working, they're like, oh my God, my laptop's like every time I open this application, I have to sit here for 15 minutes while it loads. And I'm like,
Oh,
can you get a new one? They're like, oh, no, I can't get a new one for 2 years. I'm like, take that at an organization that has 20,000 employees. I'm like,
yeah.
what? This should be such a high priority. And it's just not. Um, I guess for you, Core, I mean, do you why I'm trying to get to why your organization's not doing this, you know? Is it you need an expensive tool? Well, Nextthing's a great tool at the end of the day, it is kind of expensive, right? But do you need a tool like that in order to perform these refreshes? Like what's stopping organizations from taking this seriously?
Yeah, I think obviously, yes, you need a tool to be able to do it as effectively in the way that we would recommend. But even organizations that have the platform, many times they're not leveraging it in that capacity, which is unfortunate. I think my take would be it's more of the way we do budgeting in
Yeah,
organizations. That we've just been through this effort that in May and June, um, so many organizations were reaching out. It was RFP season. It was get me quotes, give me budgetary pricing. Let me get this thing in for my budget that's coming out for 27 that's going to be finalized in September. That's a normal cadence. And so oftentimes this is the easy one to forecast is, yep, I got to refresh these laptops. They're at 3 years. It's going to get approved. And so until we get into times like this where there's more scrutiny on that budget, um, it's just part of the way that organizations work. And so I think, but it's prime for change. It's prime for leveraging technology in a way that'll free up those funds to go and invest in something that'll be much more impactful to your business than just refreshing hardware because it may not even need refreshed.
yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I think that's probably it for the traditional state of the market, but I know that you have a couple of other topics here that you wanted to discuss on this week's episode.
Well,
Um, do you
before
want to
we
move
jump into
move on?
my last topic, private I wanted to have you seen Siri, the new release in
Oh,
iOS
no.
27?
I've seen some things, Corey. I don't know whether I want to believe it or not.
You refuse to believe it. You won't believe
Yeah.
it till you see it.
Well, I mean, take a look at the last like how long has Apple Intelligence been printed
Yeah.
on every Apple product? And you're like, I don't know about you. I don't have one single thing that I know how to use Apple Intelligence for.
Yeah. They really, it's an example of them trying to overpromise, get something out there for WWDC last year, and then it was just vaporware, right? We never saw it. And
Terrible.
you've mentioned many times before, Surrey's been a disappointment since almost day one. So
Hmm.
I'm hopeful based on what I've seen. I think one of the funniest things was the WWDC this year. They did a lot of live demos, like they were actually showing you the phone doing these things, and I think that's because,
Live demos,
live,
Corey. Live demos.
but very different from the year before, though, where it was just them talking about everything it would do and how miraculous it would be. Now we at least saw some of the features and functions, but yeah, I'm waiting until the beta comes out, hopefully next month, and or now this month, or July 1st. Maybe we can, it'll finally be the Surrey that we've been promised for so many years.
Yeah, no, and I know I'm being a little. I don't mean to be Eeyore on this. I actually, I mean, I'm an Apple guy, so I'm a Mac guy, iPhone. So I am excited. But let's. How about this? What are the features they're talking about, Corey, that you're most excited about?
I think that it's everything that I've wanted it to be, right? So even things I know I use it for my family where we'll come up and search for photos through the photo app. And
Mhm.
it never quite gets like we know the video's in there, we're describing it, and it's not able to pull that up. So they've been able to do that. A lot of the simple things like reminders, like I know I want to give me a grocery list and be able
Yeah.
to track tasks or to-dos for me and remind me at certain points in time. Why have we not had that capability, right?
I know.
And so that's what they're supposed to be introducing. I haven't seen it as exhaustive. I'm in kind of the same boat you are, honestly, of I want to see it in the beta. I want to be able to test it out. Right now it's a developer beta, and I think that's too early to use on your primary device. But yeah, we'll see. Hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm happy you said reminders because that's my number one thing is I just want to be able to talk to it about my reminders and categorize them in ways that are easy without me having to go into that reminder app and click settings. It takes too long to set up to to set yourself a reminder. It's
Yeah.
insane.
Well, yeah, I
Although
did
to
hear that.
their
Go ahead.
I was about to say to take their side a little bit. I don't see anyone that has a good reminders app out there. I've done some research. I'm like, I want something easy to use. The calendar apps are all a little take too much time. No one really makes a good one. And so to take, to give them some credit, I'm like, I haven't really seen a great reminder app that's out there.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Even the reminders app in there isn't great. I have finally Claude though on my device. I can ask it to make a reminder for me or remind me to do something, and it'll ask me now, "Do you want me to add that to your reminders app?" So
Oh,
I haven't actually
nice.
had it do it because I don't know what the reminders app does for me. I don't think it can set an alarm or remind me. Like I don't think any of that capability is there. But that's all I want
Yeah.
is like the notification to pop up and say, "Hey, remember you need to do this today." Like that would
Yeah.
save me so much.
Yeah. It gets confusing where on the reminders app itself, that you can't designate like there are reminders that I want to see, but I would also love to keep like a tasks list, right? And I'm like, I
Yeah,
don't need to be reminded about the tasks, but I don't want them jumbled with the reminders. I'm like, can you just have reminders up here, tasks down here, running task list, running reminders list with actual times on there, you know? So I don't know. We'll see. Um, who knows? Maybe they knock it out of the park and we're like, damn, we were really, the bar was low enough where we're talking about the Photos app and reminders and they launched something that's actually great. So
yeah.
we'll
Hey,
see.
they've been playing the long game. They just set a low bar over the last decade.
Yeah.
So you want to jump to private AI, or I think
Yeah,
that's
let's
what
do
they
this.
call
I
it.
I I am so unfamiliar with this, so I am really excited to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, it's kind of new. It's newer for us, right? And
Mhm.
so we're now seeing this kind of progression, and we work with customers through the entire gamut of there are you can go and purchase a LLM like a ChatGPT for Enterprise, a Claude license, where you're using it is you're used to using it, where it's a SaaS based solution. You're on their compute, their model. It's going to the open internet. Yeah, you can create a project and upload some of your content. You need to be careful based on what you have and what the agreement says on how that data will be used, etc. But it's just really a hosted type solution. On the other side of the equation, we have customers that have said, we need dedicated infrastructure. We're going to go and work with NVIDIA. We're going to build out our own, dedicated compute infrastructure to run models. Those are, I mean, that's pretty extreme, right? That's for a particular use case where it needs to be air gapped or it needs to be, it's working on information that is that critical that they want to make that large of an investment. And so right there in the middle, though, we're seeing so much development and now a little bit of interest in building out kind of a private AI solution. At least that's kind of what I'm calling it. Essentially, what it is it's leveraging Google Vertex is their platform, or Amazon or AWS Bedrock, and so this is their solution where you can actually spin up your own models or own AI solution. And it's more than just kind of hosting Claude or hosting Llama or anything else on your own infrastructure, right? That's been out there for a long time. We know of certain organizations that do that. This is really taking what is available through other startups or other code repositories on GitHub and introducing a lot more features that you can wrap around AI to make it that much more secure and optimize it for your organization. Okay. So a couple of those elements are things like an AI gateway where you can actually manage who can access it, what their usage can be. You can set limits, things like that. There's also a bunch of guardrails where you can actually use Google or Amazon or even Azure to set up PII filtering and make sure that any kind of IP or sensitive data that you don't want fed to an LLM is actually scrubbed and cleaned or redacted before it goes into that model. And then some of the most exciting capabilities are functions like RAG, where you can basically own your knowledge base and repository of data that model can learn from. And so you can really control what it knows and what it doesn't know in some cases. And I like the idea that all of this can be observed, governed, managed. You can set up alerting and logging. A lot of customers have said, "Hey, I want to be able to see the prompts and actually how it's being run," and this offers that capability. And last but not least, there's the idea of model routing, which is essentially where you can optimize based on the prompt or based on the desired inference. You can actually route it to a particular model that optimizes your cost. So some things you may use Claude Opus, some things you may use Sonnet, other things you may just route to Llama or GLM or other models that you have out there. So the flexibility, the ability to offer cost savings, the governance, all of these things, we're now seeing customers that are very interested in this type of solution. It's kind of that Goldilocks zone in between both of those other solutions.
That sounds great. Um, but I want to make sure I'm understanding correctly. So
Threw a lot at you.
what it, yeah, so what it looks like, if like we use Claude, right? And if we were
Hmm.
to attach, let's just use Bedrock for the example,
Yep.
for this example. I'm still going to be able to interface with Claude,
Yep.
right? And so is this simply the employees still have the Claude desktop app? It is just the back end setup of all this. Bedrock serves as sort of like a governance uh, layer on the back end of how these employees are interacting with Claude.
So there's two benefits. One, you this is where organizations want to set up a web front end, or they have a, this has been a thing that's been elusive for many organizations. They want that one AI experience or AI agent experience to rule them all. That it's one
Yeah.
entry point. It's on their internal landing page or Basecamp type site where they can go and they can interact with it, but it can go and use all these agents in the back end. This gives you that flexibility. So while you're not going to be going and routing to Claude publicly in the internet, you can set up a website where your organization can go, or you can introduce it on a live site, or you can bake it into your application or your solution and just have it be an API experience out to this AI environment that's private. And so it offers that flexibility to how your end users are engaging with it. But you could give them a very similar web page or similar experience to what they have now. I think the beauty of this is you can really kind of abstract that layer away. You can make the front end whatever you want. You can brand it. You can do whatever you'd like. And on the back end, you can leverage a variety of models, but also a variety of partners to achieve the outcome. So I even think in the future, things like Next Thing Spark, their AI solution, it's tremendous, but it only knows about the endpoint. And so this type of design and solution architecture would allow you to route end user device level issues to Spark. Or if you just had a general question, it can route to Claude or it could route to Llama or something else. So it's really flexible in terms of what it can offer to organizations.
So I'm not like, if this was on my device, I'm not, I would no longer be using the Claude desktop app. I would be using a front end, we'll just call it a chat interface that was created. And when I ask it a question, it can do all the same things, right? And it can basically go to Claude on your behalf if it
Correct.
wants to. And then it presents the information, Claude outputted in the exact same way Claude would in this created interface.
Yep, it would just be like using the web interface, but you would control what that is. And so again, you can have it go to Claude and have it go to the internet, but you could also spin up a dedicated model that just knew about your environment, right? So an example is if
Hmm.
you just wanted to have a particular HR repository of knowledge, you could actually upload that to a GLM or Llama type model, and that could be what housed and handled any of your HR related questions, right? and for a fraction of the cost of what you would do uploading that data to Claude and trying to make that your experience for all of your end users.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. You know what? This might sound. I don't want this to sound wrong, but you know what I think would be the most useful in that is the model routing because I'm still today confused on which model to use
Yeah.
the majority of the time. I'm like,
Yeah.
if I know my usage resets in an hour and I still have 50% to use, I'm like, we're turning on Opus. But I'm like, I don't know what's best for what I want to do half the time. So that's
I was
exciting.
talking with some of the
Um,
the team, and uh they had not changed it from Sonnet to Opus, and he was trying to get it to do something, and he goes, "Oh my god, I did not realize the difference that I could switch between models." And so you're right, but you could take that away, but you can also do it for a cost savings. But the other direction of, hey, this is a more complex task, I'm going to send it over here. I think longer term, you're going to see organizations that they're using Claude or they're using a model like that because it's easy today and it can work
yeah,
quickly for them. But longer term, what you're going to see happen is they're going to use that for the bleeding edge use cases. And then as they identify what more of their tasks and functions are going to be, they're going to take those consistent requests or those easier asks, and they're going to route them to something internally that's a fraction of the cost. Another thing I'll
yeah,
highlight in here, Tyler, that I think is important is this can do something called semantic caching. And that's a pretty phrase for essentially meaning it can cache prompts and prompt responses. And it can either take and understand keywords or vernacular that's unique to your organization. But most importantly, if there's a common request, like for an HR knowledge base article or for a part schematic or for something like that, it could cache the response and deliver that without having to go and use additional tokens through a model each and every time. And so there's even efficiencies that it can do on functions like that.
wow. I mean, that's great. I think that's probably the best. I mean, I think that's the easiest one to understand the cost savings in would just
Yep.
be, or I shouldn't even say cost savings, but token maxing efficiently. That's what I should say. That is cool. I guess like I always think like I'm trying to think of how this would be used in the future. So I hear what you're saying, and I just keep using myself as an example. I have Claude, and I use it for multiple different things. Right?
Mhm.
I'm continuously learning on features
Yep.
as they release them and things I can do with it. But if I were to be limited to an interface that was built by our IT team, right? And I'm like, well, I can't use this interface is just not user friendly. I mean, I shouldn't say user friendly. It's just Claude is so easy for me to understand when I'm in cowork versus chat, whether I'm using Opus, whether I'm using Sonnet.
Mhm.
Whereas this one, I just am going to kind of describe what I want and it's going to go do it for me. That seems a little unfamiliar to me. But I hear what you're saying is that it's not going to fully replace that. It'll just be if I have an HR question, I can go to the HR chat and I can interface with it there. Or if I have a I don't know. If I have a computer issue, there's an IT agent on there. I can use, you know, talk to it through there to get that issue fixed. But I still have Claude on the side for however I want to use it. Is that what you're saying, or are you saying it's going to fully replace the usage of these
The idea,
LLMs?
the perfect use case is that it would take away the use for you to have an individual Claude license and leverage it in the way you do today. And yes, you're
Okay,
familiar with the different model types and you're familiar with the level of effort, but are you always picking the right one? Probably not. Are you
right.
optimizing it? Are there going to be organizations that their team says, "Oh wow, Opus Max is great. I'm going to use that for every request." Right? Is
Yeah,
that the most efficient? This now abstracts that away, gives them a front end that can look and feel the same as ChatGPT or Claude or whatever you're used to using, but it will make those decisions in the back end. And I think an example for you guys in marketing is you've now gotten to where a lot of the look and feel and branding of different content is you have that pretty well defined. And now it's a matter of
yeah,
okay, we're doing this, put it into this type of branding or this type of it's going to be shared in this delivery, either email or a PDF or whatever it may be. Um, do you need to be using Opus every time to do that and consuming tokens, or could we if we had an environment like this, spin up a llama or something, have it know all of our brand guidelines, all of our content. And when we get a request like that, that is pretty basic and that we get frequently, it just routes it to Llama, and we're paying a fraction of the cost of what it would be to get a license for all of the creative team um, in Claude, right? Does that make sense?
It does. I think something clicked to my brain. So I mean, the reality is it's more. It could be more efficient for the end user as well because
Yep.
we're simply it's deciding for us the best path to take
Yep.
uh, for our prompts. Gotcha.
Yep.
And is
And I
this
think for the
when?
most of the end users, they're not going to want to understand that.
Yeah. Well, true. But is this relatively new?
There are organizations that have been doing this. I think that now this is something that the use cases, we're now seeing enough folks that have adopted the normal LLM model, the Copilots, the Claudes, the ChatGPT for Enterprise, things like that, but they're hitting those limits. And so they're now
Yeah.
saying, hey, I don't know how often my team is putting in prompts related to, recipes this weekend is always the example I use. Like, how much time are they using planning their fourth with Claude using our enterprise license as opposed to actually performing work, right? What
Yeah.
prompts are they using the most? Are they leveraging it appropriately? I don't have good reporting or insights into that data. Okay, well, this can address that, right? Or we've seen so many examples, and we've talked about them here, of token use and adoption getting out of control and going the other direction to where the cost can be exorbitant to organizations. So this can optimize it and make it better and more efficient. And I think it's only going to get better and more flexible over time because I don't think the future is going to be, yep, we're a cloud organization or we're a ChatGPT organization or whatever it may be. I think you're going to have a number of AIs in your environment and you're going to want to figure out a way to optimize and leverage the right one at the right time to give you the outcome that you want. And with guardrails and controls and making sure PII and sensitive data isn't there, and also being able to charge back effectively on usage across your organization. So I think this architecture and this model is something that is going to stick, and it's because of folks hitting some limitations. That's why it's coming to the forefront now.
Yeah. I mean, I think okay. I think I'm understanding it, and this does sound pretty promising. I was thinking back to while you were talking there. On our last episode, we talked about how Uber burned through their 2026 AI token budget in what 4 months. I actually saw this week a report that came out on Amazon where very similar. They didn't burn through their budget, but what they had was they were encouraging all of their developers to interact with their, I think it was called Kiro or something, was their AI agent.
Hmm.
Um, and they basically were just encouraging people to use it. So they built a uh, leaderboard that was measuring usage of each employee. And what the employees ended up doing was just spinning up autonomous agents doing completely meaningless work. Like
Yep.
they would have
Y-
agents that would just simply read Slack messages
Yep.
just so that their usage went up. And so, um, and I think there was another one that came out that Meta had like the same issue. And I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, these are some of the smartest organizations in the world,
Yep.
and they're trying to adopt this really cool technology. I'm like, why is this happening to these organizations? You know, and I guess maybe the reality is, to your point, it's hard to track and you don't have any insight into what your employees are actually doing with it. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, I think you're right. This could be where this is all heading.
Yep. Yep. I really think so. I mean, it's cost avoidance or optimization, it's monitoring and governance, it's data security or data sovereignty, I guess I'll say. It
Hmm.
offers flexibility and it offers that kind of control and good reporting to make sure that you're leveraging it appropriately because it's only going to get more complex and it's only going to get more players in the space. And so I think
Yeah.
organizations having a plan and a strategy and having an environment where they can safely play and test and have that pendulum swing back and forth like those examples that you're talking about of where they kind of overcorrect or overcommit in one area and have to pull it back. That's what we're going to have. And so this framework is one that we're talking about with customers because it provides that safe space where they can learn and then optimize.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's important. I mean, I think both sides need to learn. I think organizations don't know how to manage it. Employees may not know how to use it. So
Yep.
I feel like
Yep.
this fits right in. So,
So much on that. Yep.
yeah. Okay. All right. We got anything else we want to discuss?
No, other than your wardrobe, we got to step up the game here, Tyler. We got
I
to.
know. I saw you show up with that, and I'm like, damn it! I think I'm wearing the same shirt I wore last time. So,
The funny thing is, this is a full suit.
listen,
This is pants,
is it really?
jacket, the whole 9 yards. So
Oh my
yeah, we'll
god.
see what I can pull out
Well,
next time.
I got to start getting some stuff from Timu then, I guess. But how about this? I can at least. I don't know if I can go from blue and black to floral patterns in one jump, but I can promise you this. How about next time we start, I'll wear a white shirt
There you go.
and we'll just slowly move on
We'll
from there.
phase this out. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. All right. All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. Um, I think by the time this comes out, it'll be just after 4th of July weekend. So hope everyone had a good long weekend. And thank you.
Yep. Thanks.